Hello, everyone, and thank you for viewing this poster. I'll go ahead and share my screen so you can see it. Okay, my poster is called University Policies Enacted During COVID Have the Potential to Benefit Women Staff Long Term. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic changed many aspects of how organizations went about their work. Our research looked at the changes that universities made in their HR policies due to COVID and then describes those considered beneficial for women that will be continued long term. We first conducted small focus groups with HR directors at 3 Utah universities. We then interviewed a total of 12 university staff leaders at each of these same universities. We asked questions about how policies changed their schools during the pandemics and which policies they found to be so beneficial that they're actually keeping them long term rather than going back to their pre-COVID policies. We searched the interview data for themes and found these 6 themes. And these are illustrated in these rectangles here to the right. So the first theme we found is organization-wide cultural expectations of being able to work remotely. The second theme is practical considerations for working remotely. Third, classes, trainings, meetings, and routine communications offered through technology. 4 is purchase and monitoring of equipment for remote work. 5 is training to assist managers in remote monitoring of work activities. And 6 is the use of remote tools for supporting employee well-being. So once again, these changes were found to be beneficial for employees, and the participants we talked to noted that they will continue into the near future. They shared that these changes led overall to greater flexibility, better communication, and improved equity. Each theme is represented by a quote that shows that theme, and I won't read all of them. You can do that. But I want to share a couple with you that specifically highlight how women are affected. So under cultural changes, someone noted, I have one employee who just had a child, and she's openly stated that she's not sure she would have continued working if she wasn't able to stay home and see her child occasionally throughout the day. And under practical changes, one of the people we interviewed said, because of family needs, an employee of ours needed to move to Texas. She's been with us for 15 years or something, amazing database administrator. If we hadn't been willing to be flexible with that, we would have lost her. So again and again, we heard stories of how these long-term changes have actually been super beneficial. Um, we then followed up after the interviews with HR leaders. We followed up with interviews with staff who directly implemented the policy changes with the staff that were below them. And we asked what differences they saw and how the policy changes impacted women versus men. We found that some of the themes showed up the same for all genders, but some, such as cultural changes and practical changes, stood out as uniquely impacting women. Many of the staff leaders talked about how their staff who were caregivers during the pandemic, whether to children or to elders, especially struggled with working from home. They talked about how moms with young children who are helping their kids to do school from home were especially impacted by being expected to balance work and childcare, um, considering the disproportionate burdens that are often placed on women when it comes to that. Interestingly, it seems that during the height of the pandemic, these policy changes were difficult for many women. And yet now that children are back in school, there are many positive ramifications of many of these cultural and practical changes that started during the pandemic and now are continuing and causing positive changes for women staff. Our research is still ongoing. It's not done yet. So the next phase is to do focus groups with specifically women staff at these universities. And we'll have 2 focus groups at each university with 8 to 15 women each. And one focus group at each school will talk to women who worked remotely during the pandemic. And then the other focus group will talk to women who stayed on campus for work during the pandemic so that we can compare and contrast their experiences during the pandemic and also long-term with the policy changes. We've seen in our data so far that with the disproportional burdens often placed on women around home and family responsibilities, women uniquely struggled during the pandemic. But we've also seen that these changes that came about because of the pandemic, especially the cultural changes and the practical changes that the universities made regarding policy around remote work, can actually be particularly beneficial to women. As we move into these female-only focus groups, we're excited to learn more about how these long-term policy shifts are affecting women's staff's lives now and how they can be beneficial to them moving forward into the future. So thank you once again for viewing this poster. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. And I hope you all have a great day. Thanks. Bye.